Her name is Sam. Sam was really into art, like my dad, and was super chill. Sam was really pretty too. She had tons of brothers though, to come and beat up anyone who they didn't see fit as a suitor. But there was also this other guy, David. Sam wasn't super close to David. David was a pretty quiet kid. He was nice and had a close circle of friends, which Sam wasn't in. He was just kind of a blurry face in the halls. However, David started changing classes at the beginning of the second semester in their junior year. He wasn't very into art, and most people by their junior year have a set of interests. But this semester he was suddenly in an art class. Sam would turn up to a class, and then suddenly David was there too. She thought it was a bit creepy, sure, not enough to make a fuss over. Like I said, she was chill. So she was polite to him, and since he was struggling in art class, which he was clearly not interested in, she helped him out a bit. This took a bit of a turn when she started to get calls from him, all the time. He started talking to her in the halls between classes, everywhere he got a chance. But when someone else answered the phone or tried to talk to Sam at the same time as him, he would hang up or slink off. Sam started to get yelled at by her dad because of David's constant calling. This would subside, she thought. This is just a stupid guy testing his limits. She started reaching her limits when she heard strange things at night. Mind you, she lived way out of town, hidden back in some fields, and her bedroom was on the second floor. She started hearing knocking on her window, nails scratching on it. That sound you hear when you press your finger really hard on a wet window and drag it. Whenever she got to the window though, she never saw anyone there. She started closing her blinds, making sure to lock her windows every night, checking once, twice, 3 times to make sure that, yes, they were locked. She got scared and woke up in the night for no reason. At least, no reason came to mind. Except for 20 years later when she was revisiting those nights again and telling me when she said that she felt like even though the curtains were closed, someone was watching her. She would get sick to her stomach at night out of worry and go puke. And she said even then, she felt like David was there. However, she had no real proof to go on, other than his incessant calling and attempts to make conversation. What pushed her overboard was when he would call her and tell her what she was wearing, or what she was doing. Or when she wouldn't pick up, come to her in the hallways the next day and say, "I know what pajamas you were wearing last night." Whenever she would challenge him to give her an answer as to which pajamas she really was wearing, he would give her the right answer and leave without another word. She went home and told her parents even though she didn't like to, because she wanted to take care of this herself, and telling her parents made her feel like a little kid. They moved her bedroom to the interior with no windows, but he would keep going. Her brothers would check all around the house, but there was no form of transportation outside to be found. They would check the woods across from their house. Nothing turned up. Whenever Sam tried to tell a teacher, someone, anyone, who had any type of authority over the situation, They would pass it off as teenagers being teenagers and fooling around, playing some sort of joke to see how the teachers would react. The last straw was when Sam, in the interior bedroom with no windows, doors locked, windows everywhere in the house locked, everything shut up tight, heard a noise in the middle of the night, felt like she was going to vomit. She listened closely and tried to hear breathing or steps of any kind. She heard her door creak open slowly and froze out of fear. When she came to her senses, she screamed her head off to make everyone in the house come running. She could hear so many pairs of footsteps that it was impossible to figure out how many there were and whose were whose. When her brothers, who were the first, got to her bedroom, they found the door already wide open. Sam curled into a ball on her bed, not having moved an inch. They quickly ran around the house to find where he had gone. They heard footsteps outside and found David scrambling into the aforementioned woods. There was no catching him in the dark now, even though they all knew those woods like the back of their hands. But they weren't going to just let the same thing happen at night. Her dad sat on the porch with his gun, while her brothers took other spots around the house. Sam stayed with her mother in her parents' bedroom, but they didn't sleep. Sam's brothers went to school the next day and kicked the shit out of David. And it stopped. Sam didn't switch back to her old bedroom, though. David was a quick learner, and would probably learn from his mistakes. Who is to say that he wouldn't come back again and actually do something to her physically this time? Sam never really felt safe, but nothing else turned up. David stayed away from her for the rest of high school. So I'm a young college girl. Not to sound arrogant, but I'm fairly used to getting catcalled, so this event seemed to start out fairly normal for me, but quickly got my heart racing. I was driving back to my apartment from campus. My apartment is about half a mile down the road from campus, and in front of my complex is a Shell gas station. I decided to stop and get a drink after class, since I was super thirsty after walking around all day. When I parked, I noticed this tall black male in baggy clothes leaning against the cigarette thing outside the store. He watched me pull up and stared at me through my windshield while I was unbuckling my seatbelt. I grabbed my purse and got out of the car, him still staring me down. I smiled and acknowledged his presence, just trying to be friendly. Anyways, I grab and purchase my drink, and leave the store and notice he's still there. When I open my car door, he starts heading toward the side of the building to my apartment complex. I didn't think anything strange of it. To me, he was just a normal guy that hangs out in front of gas stations. I pull out of the gas station and start to head towards my apartment. I notice he's walking towards my turn, where my building is. I park my car in front of my building, and at this point, I've lost track of him. Now, usually the walk to my building takes like less than a minute, but this walk seemed to take hours. I start walking across the parking lot to my building. I hear fast-paced steps coming up to my left-hand side, so I look over and see this man from the gas station, eyes wide, hands in his pockets, quickly walking up towards me. I panic and start to quickly walk up the stairs since my apartment is on the second floor. I reach the first step, and at this point he is right behind me. And again, I say hi, acknowledging his presence, and try to act as calm as I can, even though my heart was literally about to beat out of my chest. So I'm racing up the stairs, and he's quickly following behind me, and I'm hoping that my key fob flashes green because it usually takes a few times for it to let me in my apartment. I get inside and he's running up the stairs behind me, and I slam the door shut and I hear loud banging on my door. I lock it and run to my room and call campus police. Campus police found him the next day. This man had a fanny pack on, full of bath salts, and a loaded revolver. Who knows what he could have done to me if he would have gotten a hold of me. Scariest day of my life. This happened a while ago when I had moved into my own place for the first time. My parents had lent me money for a place, so I decided to move into a duplex-type house by myself. Anyway, after about a month of living there, I had gotten settled in and become quite friendly with my neighbors. One morning, I went to the mailbox to get bills and stuff, and I noticed that someone had broken it open. The metal lock on the back looked like it was shimmied off or something like that. I looked inside and mail was there, but it was all opened and put back into its ripped envelopes. At the time I didn't think much of it. I was just pissed off. Jump forward a few days, and it's early in the morning. I had gotten up and was about to go to work. I opened my door to walk to my car, and I realized I had forgotten my tablet. I walked back inside, leaving my front door wide open. I walked back to the front door to see a man in a hoodie standing outside my door. I dropped my stuff and let out a little squealing sound. I was more surprised than scared. He was outside my door at this point. All I could think to say was, "Hi." He didn't say anything. I picked up my stuff and walked towards the door to speak to him when I saw he was holding a black flip knife in his hand. I screamed as loud as I could and ran into my house, not looking back. I ran into the bathroom directly down the main hall of the house and locked myself in. It was a sliding door. I curled up on the floor and listened. I could hear him walking down my hallway. I just continued to scream as loud as I could. But here is the great thing about living in a duplex. My neighbors were a married couple in their early 60s who at the time were sitting down for breakfast. I didn't know at the time, but the husband was an ex-police officer. I'll call the ex-cop Bill. They're eating breakfast when they faintly heard me scream the first time when I saw him at the door. When I started screaming at the top of my lungs, Bill obviously thought something was wrong. He stuffed his gun under his belt just in case. You can see the bathroom from my front door, and remember that the front door is wide open. Bill arrived at my front door to see the guy with the knife in his hand and his face pressed up against the bathroom door. Bill draws his gun and screams, "I don't know who the fuck you are, but drop the fucking knife." I hear this through the door and I immediately feel a sense of relief, but also of adrenaline. Now this is where I say that I tell you that until you've heard gunshots in a confined space, you do not realize how loud they are. Apparently the guy didn't take the hint from Bill and ran at him with the knife. 3 deafening shots rang out. "Stay in there for the time being." I recognized the voice immediately as Bill's. I was never more relieved in my life. Long story short, Bill got 3 near-perfect shots in the guy's shoulder, enough to stop him in his tracks. The police came within minutes and took the guy away in an ambulance. Apparently, he had been watching my house ever since I moved in, and was a prior sex offender. So if it was not for my neighbors, I probably wouldn't be writing this right now. I'm not easily spooked. It takes a lot to throw me off balance. But the story I'm about to tell really did shake me up and left me wondering if it's ever really going to be over. I'm a 29-year-old single woman. My career has been my main focus, and as a result, I've been successful at what I do. I'm a safety consultant. Love the irony. And I go to people's homes or workplaces to improve their safety. Maybe it's my profession that made me feel like nothing bad would ever happen to me. Spotting risks and dealing with them is what I do best. It started innocently enough. The first time I remember seeing him was when I was stuck in traffic, and he was the driver in the car behind me. I saw him in the rearview mirror. He was smiling and doing a "what can you do about it" gesture. He had snacks and a thermos and started to make himself comfy in the car. He seemed like a relaxed kind of guy. The cause of the traffic block was an accident, and we were stuck for a long time. I guess that's why I remembered his face and his car so well later. Later that same week, I was on my way home from work, which is a 20-minute drive, and I spot his white Volvo behind me once more. I make my way through town, and he's still behind me. At this point, my overly risk-calculating mind tells me not to go straight home. I was not feeling threatened or scared, just mentally making notes that this man seems to drive the exact same route as I. I stop at a coffee shop and set off on a mission to feed my caffeine addiction. And when I come back out, I had almost forgotten about the Volvo, until I stop at the last red light before reaching my street, and I see him behind me again. I wondered if he wanted to ask me something. As I got out of my car, I had my pepper spray ready in my pocket, just in case. But the Volvo drove straight past me, the driver not even looking my way. I'm just being overly paranoid then, I thought. My coworkers said it would happen if you stayed in this business long enough. Fast forward a few days. I was working late one night, and suddenly I got a text message. I got the kind of alarm system at my house that will send you a text if anyone tries to get in or tamper with the alarm. I hurried home to check, but found nothing out of order. A case of malfunctioning, maybe? The next morning, my boss phoned and asked if I wanted to go and meet with a client out of town. He had asked for me, a recommendation from another client. Flattered and eager to land a new big client, I agreed. Since I have zero talent for reading maps and finding my way, I used the GPS in my phone to get the address right. The longer I drove, the less eager I became. The risk calculator in my mind woke up, pointing its index finger at the things that didn't totally make sense. Why did the client say no to the normal process? A telephone contact to discuss the situation and get a picture of what it can cost to get us involved. Why a meeting right away? And without giving any details about what sort of property it was? I stopped the car and considered the situation. Was I overthinking it? Had I started to become really paranoid without noticing? Or was there something strange about this? I decided I was probably seeing patterns that weren't there, and went ahead to find the address. It was hard as the GPS on the phone stopped working. No service out in the middle of nowhere. As I saw the property, I got a strange feeling again. It didn't look like a place anyone would invest any significant amount of money in to protect. It was an old building, old tires and junk scattered around the yard, and nothing of value anywhere to be seen. Who would want to go out of his way to protect this? Following my instincts, I drove around the property to the back of the building. I didn't see anyone around, which added to the growing feeling of get the fuck out. As I drove around the corner, I saw a tarp covering a car. The tarp was too small to cover the entire vehicle, and I immediately recognized the shape and color of the white Volvo. I locked the doors and started to turn the car around. Suddenly, there he was, blocking my exit. He was dressed in a suit that looked like it had last seen the light of day when his grandpa was young. He wasn't smiling anymore, not looking like a nice, relaxed guy. Looking nervous and strained. He started walking towards me, and I saw that he was wearing thick leather gloves, despite the hot weather. I looked for an alternative way out, because, let's face it, you don't want to run a person over if you can avoid it. It would be hard to claim self-defense without any harm done to me. Maybe he was just a socially challenged person who didn't know how to show his interest in a normal way. "Come on out," he said. His voice sugar-sweet, but his face showed no emotion. "Get out of my way," I shouted, opening the window a tiny bit. "I just want to talk. Please shut the engine off and talk to me," he pleaded. "I made scones especially for you. I just want to chat." Saying this, he looked very sad and defeated and lonely, and I almost fell for it. What if he was really lonely and just wanted to invite someone over and had no idea how to do it? The gloves, the hidden car, the alarm system at your house, my inner voice reminded me. "Please don't be mad. I just wanted to surprise you. Don't you like surprises? All the magazines say that you should surprise your lady with spontaneous romantic things, and I cooked. Just for you. Please at least let me show you the decorations I made. Please?" He thinks I'm his girlfriend? Holy shit. Okay, I smiled. I understand. You spooked me at first, that's all. But I recognize you now. I'll just park the car in the front yard and we can go have scones. The moment I had finished my sentence, he started shaking his head no. Park here. It's okay. Okay, I said, still smiling as convincingly as I could, turning off the engine. Then I started pulling at the locked door, pretending it was stuck. Oh my god, the door is doing this again, I sighed. Damn it, I meant to get it fixed, but I never had the time to make it into the garage. You know what it's like, right? Maybe you can do it for me someday, sweetie? He nods happily and runs up to the car to help me with the door. Pull downwards and give it a yank real hard, I instructed, as I slowly moved my hand to the key in the ignition. I got the car going with him still holding onto the door for dear life. He cried and screamed and kicked as he had to let go. I drove home, constantly looking in the rearview mirror, half expecting to see the Volvo. As I stopped at a gas station to phone the police and my boss, I started to feel sorry for him. How sad a life he must have. The police arrived at the location, but the Volvo man wasn't there anymore. Turned out, he didn't own the place either. It was all a lie. They did find a table set for two, with roses and scones and now cold tea. They also found a box in the bathroom containing duct tape, cuffs, a woman's nightgown, and a jewelry box with an engagement ring. In the kitchen, in an old bread box, they found photos of me taken from a car, and photos of my house. I don't know if this is over, if he has found someone else to propose to, or if he is planning to try again with me. I've since started to bring my gun to most places, and if he does try again, I will be ready. A part of me feels sorry for him for being so at odds with the rest of the world. Another part, my inner survivalist, is ready to take him down the moment he suggests we have scones and tea again. Creepy, phony client man, I hope you get the help you so seriously need, and that we never meet again. It wouldn't end well for you.